Happy Tuesday. Happy Thursday, family. I'm excited to bring to you another edition of our Teenage Thursdays. And so I'm sure you saw the topic. Are you comfortable having that difficult conversation, difficult in quotation marks? And I was on a podcast today doing an interview, and the host said, I imagine that you are probably like a big sister to the students that you work with. And honestly, that's the best description of a title um, that someone could give the line of work that I do, because essentially, what makes a big sister or a big brother a good sibling is their ability to have those difficult conversations. They are a safe place. They are a good, they're active listening. They are free of judgment, and you want to come to them about that difficult thing. So we're going to process that today. Talk a little bit about why those conversations are so difficult. And I want to give you a little bit of a few strategies to help you or encourage you to walk forward and be and live in and try to have those difficult conversations. But if you are joining me for the first time, my name is Lanita Holston. I am your favorite student success strategist, and I coach high school students to identify and go after that thing, their dream career. And I've been doing this work, particularly working with students since 2013. I absolutely love it. I have a huge heart for it and a track record. And so my Teenage Thursdays is a way for me to give practical content to those who work with or love or live with teenage children. And so my goal is that by doing these every Thursday, I'd give you practical things to take back to your NICU, which is what I call home. It's your neonatal intensive care unit, where your baby is nurtured and strengthened and developed so that they can live long and healthy and independently. And so you can be proud about that. And so you all are here getting your supplies for the NICU. That's how I describe it. And so, on the topic of tonight's conversation, are you comfortable having that difficult conversation? And I read this book called Difficult Conversations by Douglas Stone. One of the most practical books that I have read. If you've ever read it before, you can drop in the comments. I read that. And if you are watching live, you can type in I'm here. And if you're watching the replay, you can type in hashtag replay. Well, one of the things that I remember about the book that I read is that when we are having a difficult conversation, there are three things that are happening and being processed by both persons. And that's complex. When you're having a difficult conversation, there are three things happening by both persons. So that's six stories circulating. Those three things are what actually happened, like who's right or wrong, how the person feels, how both parties feel, and then what's the identity associated with each person. Do they feel like they caused it? Do they feel like they're the reason why the controversy or the conflict happened? Those three conversations are happening in each person's head, and they're all three of them sometimes are subjective. And so, what makes difficult conversations hard, which I learned, is that when we come to the table to have the conversation, we come with our own biases. And sometimes we come with the intention to prove who's right or wrong. And the intent of managing, getting through, or having a difficult conversation is simply to understand the other person's perspective and to gain clarity and to resolve what the conflict is. Now, what makes this a little challenging in parent child relationships is that if I could assume you're not concerned about how they were feeling, you're concerned about what was done that was wrong. And one of the things that I like to challenge us to think about is that because how we are preparing and communicating to our children at home sets the standard for how they communicate outside of the home, then we're almost um we are not responsible. We let's say we contribute to how they communicate externally and with other people and when other difficult conversations arrive. So the more likely that we have more difficult conversations with them that are healthy and that are they provide a dual communication channel, the more likely they are equipped to have those difficult conversations. And so one of the reasons why I felt like this topic is important is because oftentimes I do find that it is hard for a teenager to have a difficult conversation with their parent because they fear. They fear judgment. They fear they will be punished or having to have being held to this standard. And but the goal is that I feel the goal is that they should feel safe. They should feel um, welcome and privileged to unveil themselves in the NICU, which is what I call the neonatal intensive care unit, which is home. And so you'll see in the coming weeks that we're actually hosting a virtual summit for parents. And I've already done, and this is way behind the curtains, I probably shouldn't be telling you this, but I've already done the interviews with the parents. And one of the things that I found, and these are parents of children whom are exceptionally independent thinkers. Some of them are already in their career path. They're bright in their own right. They're exceptional. And amongst all of the parents, all of them have said that when I communicate with my children, I communicate as if we are both adults. There is no hierarchy in communicating feelings and perspectives. I give them um, I give them leeway to express respectfully how they're feeling and contributing to the world and to life. And so that was a commonality amongst all five, I believe it was five of the parents. And so, on the topic of having difficult conversations, when I interview those parents, I ask them, what is it like in the day to day of you being home with your child? And all of them said, we talk often, even about the hard things. And I love that. It lit a fire inside of me because that is where we want our children to talk about the hard things. It should be a safe place. And so I'm getting ahead of myself, but I kind of wanted to break down those three conversations that are happening so that you can recognize them when you're having a difficult conversation. And so the first conversation is what actually happened. So both people are having it. So two persons make up a conversation. So one person is thinking like, well, I didn't mean it like that. Well, I didn't hurt them. It wasn't my intention to hurt them. And so that conversation is basically the intent versus the impact. Your intent might not have been to hurt, but it might have impacted the person in a way that you may not be conscious about. And so, and the person who feels victimized, like the person who was hurt, the person who doesn't feel like, it wasn't hurtful, it was real, or it needed to have been said. That's one reason or one barrier to the conversation when you're looking to have a difficult conversation. Both persons are coming to the table with their own opinion about what was the intention and what was the impact. And my biggest encouragement here is that we always have to think about the impact. Intent is subjective. It's the impact of our words. It's the impact of our tones. It's the impact of our word selections that validate what we're saying. So if a person tells you, Dad, that really hurt my feelings, we invalidate their feelings by saying, but I didn't mean it like that. That's not what I meant. And so that creates a barrier to the conversation going forward because now you're defensive. So if I could give you a more powerful or more positive response, it would be, okay, I understand how that could have hurt your feelings. I apologize. I understand how that could have hurt your feelings. I did not mean it that way, and I apologize. What I was trying to say was, but until you get to address that you hurt the person, it's really difficult for them to receive from you. So that impact versus intent, you kind of have to put your pride aside and really listen to a person when you're having a difficult conversation and they're explaining something to you. One of my pet peeves is when I'm having a difficult conversation with someone and they cut me off. Oh, you want to boil my skin? If you want to boil my skin, cut me off, because that is an indication that you're not listening. You are listening to respond to what I'm saying. And if you're doing that, that means you're not processing what I'm saying, because you can't do both at the same time. You can only do one at a time. And so you got to listen. So if you're interjecting repeatedly, that's another barrier to having a difficult conversation. You literally have to listen to understand the entire time. And sometimes we may not have a response right away. Sometimes you're listening because you have to process all of the complexities that the person is sharing with you. And so that whole what happened conversation is probably the hardest one. Once we get past that, the intent versus impact, and the person doesn't feel like they have to be on defense, then you're good to go. The second piece is like the feelings conversation. We never bring our feelings. I'm not going to say never. Let me take back that blanket statement. It is rare that we bring our true feelings to the conversation because we're in protection mode. Like, you ain't about to disturb my peace. Like, I'm about to set the record straight. Like, that is usually our attitude. Or let me come and let you know what I've been trying to tell you, and you not listening. But that's not the issue. That is not the feeling. When we can identify and communicate the feeling, the person who's being the recipient of the conversation, depending on how emotionally mature they are, has better context to why you're frustrated. So let me give you an example. If we get into an argument because I feel like you're always late, and I say, you know what, every time I come, you ain't never ready. I'm tired. I've been wasting my gas money. The feeling that I have is I feel like a person does not value my time, or I feel like my time is being taken for granted. But what I'm saying is that I feel like you're never ready. And the person might come back and say, I do be ready. I'll be outside. It only be 2 minutes. So that's not the issue. The issue is I want you to value my time so much so that I don't feel like I am second string or waiting for you. I would like for you to be ready, already dressed, like getting to the root of the emotion. That's the feeling conversation. And on the flip side, the other person might feel like, well, I feel like you always rushing me. I feel like I have a little bit of time with you that I have to hurry and speed things up, but they may not say that because they're on the defense. Do you see how complex this is? So, like, in order to have a difficult conversation, it only gets better when we practice. Like, and you only get practicing by doing them. So typically, we shy away from having the conversations because they cause conflict, and conflict is just a difference of opinion. But you only get better at having difficult conversations through practice. So hopefully, and I hope that I'm helping y'all. If I'm helping you, just type in the comments, you helping me, and I'll say you're welcome. The flip side to the feelings piece is some of us are not comfortable expressing the feeling. So we're real good at expressing the feeling of frustration and disappointment. We're not good at expressing the feelings of guilt, the feelings of greed, whether justified or unjustified. Those are things we're not comfortable expressing, that we feel maybe less than or we feel inferior. Those are not things we want to say out loud, but they're valid feelings sometimes that are showing up, in other words, in difficult conversations. And so to really attack that thing, if a person that you love, if you love a person enough to want to have the difficult conversation, bring your true, authentic feelings to the table so that we can iron those out. How much time we got? Oh, we way over time. Okay, I promise only to keep these to 10 minutes, but we got real in the nitty gritty. Last one, the last conversation is the identity piece. And that is, am I wrong for feeling the way that I do? Am I right? Did I cause the conflict? And I don't know about you, but most people don't want to be the one to have the finger pointing at them. I don't like when the finger pointing back at me. It doesn't feel good. It's like scrutinizing. It's like you just feel it's uncomfortable. We want to be seen as the good person. No one wants to be seen as, except for Donald Trump, I believe. But outside of him, I don't know too many people who do not want to be seen as the evil person. I screwed that up, but I think you get what I'm saying. So that identity piece is critical, and so we're guarding, like, no, I'm not going to be seen as the bad person here. I'm not going to be the one that's in the wrong here, and so that shows up in the conversation as well. And those are just the basic layers. We're not even talking about the past history that you may have with a person that's contributing to your communication style. Woo! Okay. I want to wrap things up tonight because I do not intend to keep you this long. But in essence, what I'm saying is that it's not an excuse for us to shy away from having difficult conversations because we're uncomfortable having them. And the better we become at having difficult conversations, or let me say, the more courageous we become about having them with our children, with our mentees, with our parents, with our loved ones, with our spouses, with our coworkers, the more comfortable we get at having them, the more freeing or the more comfortable we allow other people to come to the table having the conversations too. And I said that complexly, but what I'm trying to say is, you know, that quote by Marianne Williamson that says, when I allow my light to shine, I free others to allow their light to shine too. It's the same thing when more of us are practicing and not hiding from that difficult thing. And so if you're a parent or if you're a mentor, being okay and leaning into that difficult conversation. And if one of my approaches is this, I will just say it. This is not an easy conversation for me to have with you, but I love you so much that I really want to get it out and I really want to hear from you about it. Like, disarmor or acknowledge the tension that already exists before you begin to speak. And you will find that it helps the other person too. So, two egos have to be set aside in handling conflict respectfully and peacefully, and it's possible. So, that's all I got for y'all tonight. For tonight's Teenage Thursdays, and we'll be here every Thursday, Eastern Standard Time at 8 p.m. to give you practical tools that you take back to the NICU, your neonatal intensive care unit, and you go and nurture your young person. And I see we have some people who are still alive tonight. Thank you, Nazelle, for dropping by. Yes, we're helping the people tonight. And I appreciate you guys. I will see you next Thursday. Niara, you're back. Hey. Oh my gosh, it's so good to see you. I hope you took something away tonight. Please share your takeaway. I would love to hear it. And don't shy away from leading the conversation. Teens can lead difficult conversations too. Now, parents may not want to go there, but you can try. You can try, and you can even say that, Mom, Dad, this is a difficult conversation. I know probably for you and me, but I really want to talk about it. And just go from there. We can only try. All right, I'm out of here, Niara. I look forward to seeing your comment. I'm going to jump off, so I'm not going to keep you guys long. And I'll see you next Thursday, okay? Bye.